Hi. I hope this is working. My internet went out, and I was happily streaming 45 minutes of video, and it stopped at like 10 minutes 45 seconds, and I didn't notice that. So I'm going to go through some stuff. My cards are already made. All the stuff I had cut I used up. So I'm going to go through kind of quickly what I did today, because it cut out right before I started actually making a card. How about that? So I'm going to go through it really quickly and show you several examples of this card, and hopefully you will like the Everyday Arches fun fold that I have for you today. So I'm going to switch down. There we go. So you need the Everyday Arches dies, which is linked below. And I didn't use number 1. I used 2, 3, and 4, counting from the outside. 1 is the biggest one, so I did not use that one. So number 2 were all my background garden green arches. I cut 3 of them with arch number 2. You need 4 by 5.5 inch paper. And I picked my paper, of course, after I picked my DSP. I picked my DSP first, and there was garden green in all of these that I was going to cut. So that's why I picked garden green for my background. Okay, so I cut 3 of those. Then, using arch number 3, I cut 3 crushed curry arches. Okay, and my paper was cut 3 3/4 by 4 3/4 to do that. I've cut 3 of those. Then, with arch number 4, that's when I cut my designer series paper. This is Floral Impressions, and I cut it, it's 12 inches long, and I cut it at 4.5 inches because that made it so I could get this arch on with just a little room to spare. So I cut the Strawberry Slush, Pretty in Pink, and then I did these daisies, and then I flipped it over for the third one because I wanted my third piece that's going to be on my arches. And maybe you saw this on my Facebook page. The card goes like this. So I need 2 arches with the designer series paper, and then on this example I just put white to do my stamping and stuff. But on the one I did today, earlier, when I thought it was streaming, I used this side as my background because it's really you know, it's really low key, and you can stamp on it, and it shows up just fine. But you do need to turn it over so that the stitching on the arches will show on it. Okay. All right. So, in a nutshell, that's what I did with my arches. Now you need a base, and I know it's hard to see on this. Maybe you can see it a little bit. You need a base that's going to hold these arches, and it needs to be the same color as your background arch. My background arches were the garden green, so I made this garden green. It needs to be 3 inches by 10 3/4 inch. Now the paper is 11 inches long, so basically you're just cutting 1/4 inch off of the base. Then you need to score it at 3 1/4 inch and 7 1/4 inch, and do an accordion fold on it, okay, because it's going to open and close like that. So voila, all the stuff is cut and put together. So I laid this down on my grid, because on my glass mat I have a grid, so that I could get all my bottoms at the same spot, so that all my tops would be at the same spot. And I just glued down this is crushed curry on top of my garden green, and then my DSP on top of the crushed curry. Then when I glued these arches on, I put the glue directly on the card base because I didn't want to get outside of this square that it's going to be on. So I just put the glue right on the card base, like right in here, like that. And then laid the arch down and made sure that they were even at the bottom. I made sure that they didn't touch the fold line, okay? So that they were even like that. And then I added on the front, I added these little flowers, and I used pretty florals for these flowers. Now on this one, I used the Impressions of Bloom flowers, which are a little different, and the dies make these little impressions. They don't cut all the way through. So I used those, and I used a different sentiment for that one. But for this one, I used Pretty Florals, and I stamped and die cut. I stamped with this one. It makes 3 flowers. Okay. Kind of hard to see against my hand. Let me get some white. You can see it. Okay, I stamped, and it cuts out 3 stems and the leaves that go with the flowers. I didn't stamp any of that. I just cut it out, and I glued the leaves and stems down, but I left these cup things with no glue on them because I wanted them to move, because I popped the flowers up and I didn't glue those stems on until after the flowers were popped up. Now I could have glued those on first and then glued this down, but it just worked better for me to do the gluing first. And then I just lifted it up carefully, and using my fine tip glue bottle, I put a little dab of glue on each one. Okay. I picked Best Friend Ever out of Country Flowers, which is also linked below. This is an online exclusive, still available, and I really like this set. And I just thought Best Friend Ever, that would be really a great way to do this. And I do the accordion fold, of course, and again, my green arch, my crushed curry arch. So this is arch number 2, arch number 3, arch number 4. I didn't put anything in the middle. You could put something in the middle if you'd like. And then, like I told you, I flipped the paper over and cut this final arch out of this patterned paper, and it's kind of hard to see online, but it looks really good. And I put So Lucky to Know You, again from the Country Flowers, and I put some country flowers down here. Now the reason I have this random pink flower over here is as I got a little bit of ink right there, some black ink, and so I wanted to cover it up. So I probably would not have that flower there if I wouldn't have had that smudge on there. But that is the card base. Okay, so you have to start out, it's really important to start out with this garden green or whatever color you're using. I mean, you look at your DSP and decide, okay, what would go with everything, and I decided on garden green. So you need this 3" by 10 3/4" and scored at 3 1/4 and 7 1/4 to hold these together, okay, like that. And I know I'm going through this really fast. I made a couple other ones besides these 2 using the Floral Impressions. I also used Thoughtful Journey to make one, and I embossed Hello, and this was from the Everyday Arches bundle. I just stamped this with Versamark and then put some embossing powder and fired up my heat gun and embossed a nice shiny Hello on there. These little pieces are from a couple weeks ago when we did the washi tape thing, you know, and I have a bunch of them in my cup, and I just took a couple that I thought were cute. I put them on there, and I stamped and embossed in black some birds out of a paper pumpkin kit that I thought looked okay. Then this is another piece. Again, I'm doing the same thing. I did it with Pretty Peacock and Pool Party, and then this was Basic Beige, I think, yeah. But I did the same thing with that 3" by 10 3/4" base, you know, and did the trifold thing, and I glued on the arches and the DSP, and then this one. Sometimes well, actually a lot of times I make a card and I don't actually finish it because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I mean, this might be a sympathy card, it might be a birthday card, it could go a lot of different ways. So it's more useful to me if I don't actually finish them sometimes. I mean, sometimes I am making them for a specific, you know, birthday or purpose or something like that. So I do that. And then I made this fun one for my grandson. I talked about him at the beginning of the part 1 of this video. It's his birthday today, his 3rd birthday. So I used some DSP that is out of stock now. I mean, it's a couple years old. This was called Zany Zoo, and I thought, you know, he knows all these animals. I think the only one he might have a problem with might be the llama, but he'll know lion and turtle. And then I decorated the back too with a skunk, a crocodile, and a raccoon. And I think he'll get a kick out of a card that moves, you know, and he could do that. He likes stuff like that. He comes in my stamp room all the time, and we stamp some stuff, and he colors it, and he does his own little thing, you know. He just gets a kick, and then he's done. When he's done, he's done. So anyway, those are the Everyday Arches trifold card. If you're unclear on how to make it, I can type up some really quick directions and send it to you if you would like to make some of these. They're fun, they're easy, they go really fast, and I think you'll like them. Next week I have a couple different choices that I'm looking at. Let's see. I already put things away before I discovered that silly internet went out on me. This is one choice I'm looking at as a fun fold, using the Impressions of Bloom again. I mean, you can use any paper, but that's one of them. And then another one I'm looking at is a faux step fold card, which is kind of fun. For next week, I might do this. And it's a lot easier than a regular step fold card. And again, it goes pretty quickly too. And again, using Impressions of Bloom, you know, with some cardstock cut for flowers and things like that. So that's what I'm looking at for next Monday at 9 o'clock. I think you heard all my advertisements if you were watching the first video about my special offers. This month I'm giving away for free an embossing folder to someone that places a $60 order or more. Your name goes in the hat for a free embossing folder I'll send to you. This one, Pressed Flowers. It's this one. I've got 2 of them. So I've got a brand new one unopened. This one's mine, and it makes really nice embossing. I like it a lot. So if you place a $60 order anytime, if you've already placed one in June, then your name's already in. But you have until June 30th to get your name in on that. So that's just an additional freebie for you this month. I'm sorry about my internet. I apologize. I didn't notice that it went out. And I mean, when I'm looking at the screen, it looked just fine. There probably was an announcement that popped up when I wasn't looking or something, because when I tried to get back on, the announcement came on that I didn't have internet, and I went, oh, that was the problem. Okay. So anyway, unexpected things, right? Always unexpected things, and we have to learn to pivot. All right. Thank you for joining me. I hope you'll come back next week and see what